In the meantime, the Center for Democracy and Human Rights in Mozambique has called on South Africa to spearhead the process to resolving the impasse in Mozambique following the recent elections. This follows the South African Minister of International Relations and Cooperation, Ronald Lamola, meeting with his Mozambican counterparts during the week. According to the Center for Democracy and Human Rights, the situation in the country is negatively affecting the SADC region, hence the call for the African Union to also help find the solution. To discuss this, we're joined by the Director of the Center for Democracy and Human Rights in Mozambique, Professor Adriano Nuvunga. Thank you so much, Professor Nuvunga, for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you. Good evening.
Good evening to you too. What is your assessment of the current human rights situation in Mozambique occasioned by the recent elections?
The situation is dire. About 131 people have been killed, hundreds have been injured, thousands have been arbitrarily detained, and there is a state of fear in the country as we are moving into the pronunciation of the results by the Constitutional Council this Monday. As you know, the presidential candidate, Venancio Mondlane, he has announced that if results that are going to be announced, they will not speak to the information that he has won the election. There will be what he called the V8 demonstrations, which we fear that it will generate into further loss of lives, into escalation of the violence, with the disruption of the functioning of country and society.
Okay, but then instead of having the ratification of the election results done, don't you think in a way to avert the impending violence that might happen in the country, there should be a provision of the materials for ballots, probably for a recount?
That is too late for that. It's too late. First, this election, it was held on the 9th of October. It has been 2 months and a half now, and no result as yet. Second, I mean, the manipulation of the elections is such that it is not possible to come up with a result that will do justice to the people of Mozambique. In view of this, we have been calling for dialogue that would lead into a compromise amongst the various candidates to agree on a path forward. That's where we have been suggesting that South Africa, being the big brother in the region, and other entities, SADC and the African Union, should have a long time ago come in to help Mozambique steer a path forward. So it is too late for that, because today is Friday. On Monday, there will be the pronunciation of the results that we all know that are not credible, are not legitimate, are not legal. They will not do justice for the people of Mozambique. And we fear that that will generate into an escalation of violence.
So I'm wondering what kind of truce or compromise you would expect a man who feels he has been robbed of his mandate would be. But then we're still seeing cases of human rights violations in Mozambique. And if you want South Africa to step in, looking at these two areas, what would you expect the big brother, so to speak, in this context to do to bring about stability and peace, not only in Mozambique, but of course in the region?
There is a lot that South Africa could have done. I know that my president, in various occasions, President Nyusi, he said that Mozambique's crisis, it's a domestic crisis. Hence, it is in the hand of the Mozambican people to address that crisis. That is not correct. And he went to the Harare summit of SADC also to say that this is a domestic crisis and Mozambican people, they will address it. That is not correct. It's not correct because this crisis is no longer a domestic crisis. It has resulted in the disruption of economic activities in the region. Look at the Lebombo border in the Maputo corridor. Look at the Beira corridor. Look at the Nacala corridor. All these, they are vital corridors, not only for Mozambique, but for the region, for the SADC region. So looking at this, you cannot say that this is still a domestic. But secondly, Mozambique's election, if you measure against the SADC protocol on good governance and elections, you will clearly see that it falls short to meet the minimum required to be a credible election. And with that happening, and considering that about 131 people have been killed, and knowing that one person is too much to be allowed to be killed because of political instability, there is a lot that South Africa could have done. There is a lot that SADC could have done. There is a lot that the African Union could have done, but they have failed to come and help Mozambique. They failed partly because they look at Mozambique from a Frelimo perspective. So you see the ANC, you see the ZANU-PF, you see the CCM in Tanzania, you see the SWAPO in Namibia, the MPLA in Angola. All these, they look at us as Frelimo subjects.
Okay.
They are not looking at us.
Okay, I understand. Well, they usually say that a stitching time saves 9. Let's see, maybe last intervention by South Africa will be able to stem the impending crisis in Mozambique. Thank you so much, Professor Adriano Nuvunga, Human Rights Mozambique Director, Center of Democracy, for sharing your thoughts with us. We appreciate that.